Hi, Julie here. I just thought I'd go through a little bit with some workflow in Lightroom Classic. Used to be a time when I would jump in, load everything up, and just sit there and stare and look and twiddle and fiddle, and it used to take me forever to edit some of the images. And that's okay for a little while, but when you start getting more and more images to edit, it can take a bit longer. So I've developed a workflow that I generally use, and it just makes things a lot quicker and easier. So once I've imported all my images into Lightroom, and I'm not going to go into how to import it and all the rest of it, the first thing that I will come and do is I will come in and I will do some lens correction. So I will remove the chromatic aberration and enable the profile corrections. Now, granted, a lot of lenses these days aren't in this list. There are some cameras that are now accounting for lens corrections and things like that within it. But if your camera isn't doing that, you can jump into the make, so you can go through. This was shot with the Lens Baby Velvet 56, so I've just gone and selected Lens Baby, and then it automatically found the profile for the Velvet 56. So once I have done that, and then I could, if I wanted to, do all of the images with that. So if I hit Control and A, or if you're on a Mac, it's Command and A, and I can sync that. Now I don't want all of this stuff in here, so I'm just going to turn it all off, and I can come in and I can just click on lens correction, and I can just have those two. This is not something here nor there, but some lenses do have a little bit of barrel distortion, so that can help with that. But it's just a quick and easy way to do all of the images in your folder. Once I've done that, then I will come back up the top. I prefer to have my editing in the develop panel as solo mode, just so that when I click on one, the next one opens and the one before it closes and so forth. So I just find it's a bit cleaner, a bit easier to work through. I will then come in, I will decide what crop I want. You can decide, it's personal choice, and it really does depend on the image that you want, or the image that you're going for. I'm really quite partial to a 5:7 ratio. Now remember, that's just the ratio, that is not the size that it exports to. If you want to go through different grid patterns, if you press O, as in the letter O, you can scroll through the different patterns or grid overlays that you can work with. And I quite like that spiral because it sort of leads in. Now, if you want to change the orientation of that one, if you hold Shift, you can change the orientation of it. So I'm quite happy with that. So I'm just going to hit enter, and then that's done. Then it's a matter of going through and working out whether you need to drop your highlights down or shadows down or whites down. But any of those things so far can really just quicken up your image. If you're sort of jumping backwards and forwards, then it can make things a little bit slower. Things, if you've got sensor spots on your camera, that's another thing that you can sync. These are just marks in this little timber house. But if you have sensor spots and in the same shoot, they're probably going to appear in the same area. So you can actually clean up your sensor spots, and you can batch sync them as well. So that's done. I then can go through and work out if I need to bring up my highlights, bring up or drop down my shadows, bringing out the most in my image. I just need to get out of the heal mode if you want to boost the texture and clarity. And you can then go and do that. So if I just come back in here and click those, I can sync that to all three of those. So I can come in and I can select my white balance, which is something else I haven't done. Contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks, texture, clarity. That's pretty much my lens corrections, obviously. And then I can choose to whether I'm going to have the crop in there and the spot removal in there as well. So if it is, like I said, a sensor spot, it would probably be in the same spot on all of your images. If it is not a sensor spot, then you may need to go in and locally remove anything in each individual image. But apart from that, I can do that to all those three images I took at the same time. And I can play with it from there. So going through and working on a workflow that makes things a little bit easier for you can sometimes be a really great benefit to your workflow.